to the back of the classroom. First, we want to start off by thanking our people who donated. Mr. Williams, thank you for your contribution. Ms. Coleman, thank you for your contribution. Much appreciated. It warms my heart after just the first episode. We have people who believe in what I'm doing and willing to support, and I thank you. Next off to our sponsors, Magical Pose. You can find them on Instagram, MAGICALPOSE on Instagram. And their website is Magical Pose, MAGICALPOSE.com. Clothing line, they have female clothes, male clothes, jackets, book bags, female bags. Feel free, check them out, and let me know what you think. And feel free and let them know what you think. Promo code, because they are helping and we're partnering up. Discount code MPREL333. Go ahead and get you a discount. Coming from me to you, all my proud supporters and listeners out there. If you like what you see and you want a discount, go ahead and put that discount code in and go ahead and get you a discount. All right, today we're going to talk about building a solid foundation. And the best way we can do that is at least get the blueprint out there for people to be able to follow and make it simple. A lot of times people talk at people and they're not making sure there's a common ground in which the communication is understood and there isn't any common ground. And I can use a word and you can use the same word and not have the same meaning to it. So we're going to start solidifying a blueprint. This way we can be able to communicate with one another and do that. And we're going to start off by first just explaining communication. And its definition is imparting or exchanging of information or news. It's the means of sending or receiving information, phone, email. And part of communicating, I believe you have to have a certain level of respect for the person you're communicating with. And part of that respect, and let's define respect, it's the feel of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Due regard for feelings, wishes, rights, or tradition of others, and a particular aspect, point, or detail. So without having respect, that courtesy, we can't even begin to have communication. At that point, you're just talking at the person. You're not talking with them. You're not trying to get a better understanding. You're just talking at them. And we don't want to do that. We want to be able to have conversations. We want to communicate with one another and exchange ideas. So I want you to understand me, and I would like to understand you. So some of the things that prohibit good communication is going to be judging. You shouldn't judge. Or you would want to refrain from that as much as possible. Not paying attention. If you're drifting off, going somewhere else with it, the person you're talking to or the person who's talking to you might not want to continue communicating, or at that point you done lost what they was trying to say and the message did not come across. Giving solutions and or unwanted advice. I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I hate to hear people complain because my attitude is, well, what are we going to do about it? It's unsolicited. You didn't ask for it, so I will wait. Maybe I'll ask, but we'll get into that. Using technical language. If I'm talking to you and we're talking about just regular conversation and I start using big words that I don't think you will understand, and again, that goes back to that common ground, me saying things you understand, you saying things I understand. If I start using big words to kind of, I guess, show off my vocabulary, at that point, the communication and the message isn't getting across because you don't understand what I'm talking about. So we got to keep it simple. We got to keep the verbiage we got to keep the verbiage to a level where everyone understands. And then if somebody doesn't understand, we got to break it down and we got to explain it to them. And then one last barrier that I'm going to touch on is avoiding concerns of others. If someone's talking to you and someone's bringing something to your attention, keep those things in mind. Address it. Talk about it. Build on that. Get a better understanding, because without that understanding, the message is lost. And whether you're talking to a child, an adult, an elder, everybody has to play their part on avoiding those pitfalls. And some of the skills we can build on as far as having a better communication would be active listening. You know, you say we got two ears and one mouth, so you can listen twice as much as you speak. So sometimes you got to stop. Show that respect for that person. Allow them to say everything they want to say. It's been a long time since I've seen people take notes while people are talking. And it's because sometimes people can lose track of what they want to say and how they want to say it. So it'd be good to have a notepad, have a pen or pencil, jot down what you want to say or the point you want to make or something that was said. Ask them to hold on 1 second and boop, 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 write that down. This way you can call upon that idea or thought when they're finished talking. You want people to get their full thought out so you can understand the full scope or magnitude of what it is that they're trying to say. Sometimes the answer you might be looking for comes after your question. So sometimes you gotta let them continue what their thought was, and you might get the answer without having to cut them off. You got what you needed from that. So those are some skills. Again, something I can work on. Not perfect. Definitely work on some of those communication skills. And again, back to just having a solid foundation. We want to be able to understand that process of learning people. So here go a definition of learning, because we want to make sure we have a common ground. So learning is technically, or by, if you Google it, knowledge acquired through experience, study, or being taught.
Here's a summary from Talon's philosophy.
So, without giving you that summary, you have people who can visually learn something, auditory, and hands-on. I'm going to say kinesthetic. I might have said that wrong, but stand to be corrected. So the visual people who can learn visually, they learn by, easier to learn by graphs, charts, pictures. They can read body language really good. They can memorize and recall information as it was given to them. And to those who can visually learn, some tips would be to take notes, turn notes into pictures, avoid distractions, learn big pics before details, make mind and concept maps, color code new concepts in your notes, use flashcards for vocabulary. So that's pretty much everything you do with your eyes, and you just want to be able to get that. And you got some people who, I believe the word is, they can remember things. They can just visually see something and they can recall things that they see. And that's like the advanced levels of it. Forgive me for not remembering what it's called. But yeah, that's how you'd want to improve on those skills. Even if you're not the best at it, you can still take those tips and improve on it, just so that you're not left out of anything, provided there's a situation you might not be able to have an auditory ability to learn, or that hands-on kinesthetic way of learning. And then you have your auditory, which is your hearing and listening, which is kind of self-explanatory, but some people who are good at it or not good at it, some tips would be to record your lectures and then listen to them later on. You want to repeat certain things out loud, and it's better to do it in your own words. It shows that you grasp the concept. You understand really what it is because you're able to put it in your own words, and you can build off of that when you want to recall certain information, or you just want to apply it in your life or in the moment of what's going on. You can discuss materials in a study group. Again, the discussing, the talking, the back and forth. You can read out loud. Hearing it is part of just helping you remember it if you're not good at visually seeing it. Listen to instrumentals while studying. So sometimes just having that mood music in the background helps. Mood music helps me a lot, and you know, definitely helps. It's almost like when you learned your ABCs. You learn to a melody. That melody was no words, but even with songs and music you hear on the radio, you're memorizing the words, but you got the beat in the background that helps you keep the tempo. So sometimes you can hear a song come on, you know exactly what part's gonna happen, what part comes up first, because the melody kept you intrigued. So we all have these abilities. They're just maybe not equally trained as we would like for the others. And then you got your kinesthetic, your hands on. And for those people who want to improve on those skills, the tips for you would be to take frequent study breaks, learn while being active, chew gum, um, move around on the treadmill. For people who are actively working in the field, um, demonstration. Okay, whether you're making a cake, I'm gonna show you how to make a cake by having you put your hands on every utensil, every bowl, every mixer, the ingredients, and just let you do it while explaining it to you. So now you have the hands-on training. If we're building a house, you're gonna be with me side by side. We hand you a hammer, hand you some nails, measuring tape, and we're going to learn while your hands is actively doing it. Those are your hands-on learners, and those are some of the tips for them. And of course, when it comes to learning, we send our kids to school, and what we're allowing is the school to teach our kids the informative things that society says they need to learn. And that's just so that they can be part of the workforce as far as being an employee. Now, school shouldn't be the only place children learn. School should not be the only place children learn how to do things. So we have to teach our kids how to do research. What is research? All right, we're going to use some common knowledge. We're going to define that. So research is the systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. So that's pretty much you teaching yourself. So whatever you're interested in, that's how you would, that's the process. You do your own research. So let's lay out some steps for doing some research, just so we can, again, have the blueprint for doing the things that we're interested in, because sometimes you might not know where to start. So first step is ID and develop your topic. Again, this is research. Whatever you want to look into, whatever you're interested in, whatever your passion is, you want to identify that. Then you want to do a preliminary search. Thank God we have the internet, Google, different search engines. I love Google. It works for me, but we're not limited to just Google. That's your preliminary search. Then you want to locate materials, books, websites. Find your, different sources, and you want to catalog them. Next, you want to evaluate your sources. You want to go through it and see what's credible, what's not credible. Make sure the information you're getting is coming from a reliable source. How would you know a reliable source? Look how long it's been established, check the reviews, and your own best judgment. And when you use multiple sources, you can kind of see who agrees with who disagrees with who, what's the balance. And it's good to have those who agree and those who don't agree. You want as many different perspectives as possible, because everybody's life journey is different. So my mother makes a cake different than my grandmother makes a cake. They both make good cakes. I can't say either one of them are right or wrong. It's just different. Right or wrong, I believe personally, is a concept that just dictates how you personally feel about a topic, situation, or an event. Right or wrong. Because what might be right for me might not be right for you. Doesn't make me wrong. It's just something I'm okay with that you're not. And that goes back to learning people and just understanding who's who and what's what. So then after you evaluate your sources, you want to make notes, right? Jot some things down. You want to take the good and the bad. You want to take the points you're learning. You want to dig into it, see how to apply it, make it personal. Don't just read it just to read it. No, read it for understanding. Read it for practicality. How can I apply this in life? How can I apply this in the manner in which it was designed for? And then you can even try to find ways of using something outside of its intended purpose just because you get it. You know? You genuinely get it. And then you can make whatever it is that you're interested in your own. You can kind of, you're not recreating the wheel, but you're finding another purpose for it that maybe somebody else didn't do. And now you're an innovator. So because you took notes, you want to write your paper, you want to document it, right? You want to cite your resources properly, because at that point, if you're going to publish it or you're going to act on it, you have a background, you have literature in which you can resource, or even if you wanted to teach it to somebody else or explain it to somebody else, you can pass that information down. And that's a blueprint a lot of us lack. A lot of things is word of mouth, and a lot of things, if you ever played the game of telephone, gets misconstrued. It's not anyone's fault. It's just the way we recall information. Everybody recalls information differently. You definitely want to proofread it. We're in a day and age now where if you type up a report, you can spell check, grammar check, and just make sure all the information that you've gathered is, I would say, accurate and easy to read and understand by others. And then when you, of course, put it through that, they might have some programs where it can be translated into different languages. So it's not just for those who speak your language. You can actually pass that information down to the entire world, because everyone will have that ability to read and understand and comprehend and develop their skill in something that you provided for them. So then you would be technically providing a blueprint and building a foundation. And that's what, again, I would like to push for our people, our listeners, our future, our children. So something I find interesting is not a lot of us read a lot. I want to read more books. I personally don't read as much as I think I should or know I should. So I did some research on how to read faster. I'm gonna read you some of those tips. So some tips for reading faster will be considered: read the table of contents. You want to pre-read that. You want to skim or scan through the text first. One of the tips they give is stop sub-vocalizing. So when you hear it in your head and you're reading every word, you can look at a title and read it and know what it says without having to say it. And we do that a lot, and it slows us down. We know our brain moves faster than our lips. We can have a conversation and want to say something and run through it in our minds quicker than we can get it out of our mouths. So we can stop sub-vocalizing. We can get through the literature a lot faster. You want to read phrases, not words. Quit rereading. Don't reread the same thing. You seen it. Your brain absorbed it. Keep going. Your brain knows what words are. Even if you've seen a misspelled word, you know what the word is. It's, I believe it was taught to us. No, you said it wrong. Say it again. At this point, we understand what the word is. If not, we can look it up, get a better definition and understanding of the word. But once we see the word and we understand it, we can see it. Okay, we know what it is. And keep going. We don't have to correct or properly pronounce and enunciate the words in our brain. It just slows down our ability to get through the literature as quick as we want to. You want to read more. It's, your brain is a muscle. The more your brain is engaged, the more you can develop that muscle. I remember being in school, we had on Friday, we had to do current events. So we had to read the newspaper, pick an article, and read it. Once a week, we definitely had a newspaper we had to read. I believe it was the Daily News. In New York, we had that. And we used the Daily News. We just picked the article and we read it. And it helped develop those skills. And then you also just paid attention to current events and seeing what was going Another tip would be to improve your vocabulary. See a word you don't know? Look it up. You can Google it. You can buy a dictionary. Keep a dictionary with you while you're reading certain books. So as you see something you might not be aware of or you don't understand that word, look in the dictionary, have your computer, Google it, get a reference for the different definitions and examples of how that word is used, and you just educated yourself. Read opposing sources. Now, we spoke about that when it's doing research. It's always good to have multiple sources. You want to hear the conflicting arguments. You want to hear both sides of it, and then you can draw your own conclusions. Study nap. Just like any muscle, it needs to take a break. Between exercise, between sets, you have rest breaks. 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. It's up to you depending on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. So it's definitely suggested you take a break in between reading long passages and studying. Allow your brain to relax, cool down. Definitely have some water. Like, close your eyes for a little bit, relax, take it easy. Practice breathing techniques. I'll give you one. You inhale through your nose slowly for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, and exhale for 5 seconds. Hold for 5 seconds and then breathe in your nose. Don't breathe out your mouth. Just control the passage of air going through your nose. And the reason why that's important is because all the air passes through your neck. Whether it comes out your nose or your mouth, it's still going through your neck. Your nose has a natural filter for breathing in, and like the exhaust of a car, you want to control the amount of oxygen that leaves. So breathing in and out of your nose is a good way to maintain your cognitive ability. Try it out, see how it feels, and let me know what you think. That's one of the things that I've been practicing. Even during exercise, I do my best not to breathe in and out of my mouth. I just like to just breathe through my nose, allow my lungs to work. And I can get through a lot of my exercises a lot differently now. And I can definitely see the difference. So it's just a recommendation. See how you feel about that process. And, hopefully that's helpful and beneficial to you. So yes, I definitely want to build a foundation. I need a solid foundation for my people, my followers, my listeners, my family, the future. I reference elders. That's our elderly. Our authoritative figures are the generation who came after them, their children. And then our future would be our children. So the kids in school, those are the future. I think the times have changed. It seems like once you're 13, 14, 15, you're at a level in life where you're doing things more on a more cognitive level of what's going on in your reality and how you're choosing to get through it. And we have to lay out a foundation for the youth, because they say the youth is wasted on the young. And to a degree, that's true, but it's only true because the information or certain information wasn't passed down to the youth, and the youth didn't obtain it properly. So this is why we're laying down a foundation of getting them to learn, do research. And then it's also on the elders and authoritative figures to also learn how to teach, learn, and do research. And then also understand that children have their own mind. They say, again, between the ages of 1 and 7 is when they're learning. They're asking you questions, and they're trying to figure things out. And we should never shut them. We should never tell a child to be quiet. We should never tell a child to shut up. We should always indulge a child's ability to ask questions and give them answers. Let's help them figure things out. Let's not shut them down. They're learning. We brought them here. Let's teach them. Let's show them how society is. Let's show them how being at home is. Let's teach children that, hey, what happens and what's okay in this house isn't the same as what's okay in a different house. I grew up in a divided home. Mother lived in one house, father lived in a different house. I knew the rules to both houses. I might have wanted to bring the rules from one house to the other house, but I definitely knew what was okay in one place wasn't okay in a different place. And whenever I got the color lines mixed up, it's because it wasn't explained to me properly. I can look back and go, oh, well, my father said what he tells me goes. And then when my mother told me what she says goes. But then when you get conflicting information, you kind of choose the one you prefer, right? You get to pick the one you like. And then you can always go, well, this parent told me this, and that's why I did it. And you're playing one against the other. And that goes back to why we need to have the family under one roof. Mommy, daddy, children under one roof. I'm not saying stay in a bad situation in order to maintain that, because toxicity in the home is worse, in my opinion, than having both parents there. If you just got one good example and then that parent can show you other examples, all the more better. And again, that's just also research and learning opposing views, seeing the different variations of it. A lot of people believe how they grew up in their home is the only way it is, and there was no outside influence. And some parents prefer it that way, and I get it, I understand. But are we really preparing our children for the world? Us personally knowing the world doesn't work the way our house works. So teach your children how things work at home, definitely, because the kids and the children live there. Children should learn how to conduct themselves, how to talk to you, how to talk to people respectfully with manners, how to listen and properly engage. Even with the social distancing happening in COVID, we can still teach our children how to communicate, how to how we say, go out into society, hold conversations, and not feel or be awkward in those situations. So we teach them how we are at home, and then we teach them outside. So that means we got to take the kids outside. We have to learn what's going on, how things are going to work, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Teach them how to shop. Teach them how to pay bills. Teach them how to balance a checkbook. Teach them how to budget. Teach them how to plant. Teach them how to cook. Teach them how to clean. Teach them how to exercise. Teach them how to do research. But of course, we learn these things ourselves, and then we get into the situation, or we get into the ability of showing them how we do it. And it just makes things, in my opinion, all the more better. And we can build on that. Let's teach the children the things we do, and let's teach the children the differences in the world. Now, as they learn the differences, naturally, they're going to be able to see, okay, that's not how I was brought up, but maybe, more than one way to skin a cat, which means my way isn't the only way. And I shouldn't be so standoffish to other people's ways, abilities, cultures, and just them being who they are. I should be accepting. I should always want to learn. I should always want to build. I should always want to get more information, because that's part of the village. Everyone's going to be different than you. Everybody's house is different. Different people cook differently. People eat differently. People live differently. And we can't believe or think our way is the only way. And when you learn the different ways, you might find something that's your parents might not have known. And you can learn it. And then when you have children, you can teach your children the different ways. And then I believe that's how the village becomes stronger. We get a tighter bond because we're accepting of each other. we're learning the differences and we're applying those differences and just allowing people to be themselves. So I don't think we should ever stop learning. I don't think we should ever stop communicating. I believe we should listen to one another. We should learn one another. Everything we don't have to agree on, everything we don't have to adapt. But you should know who that person is, what they stand on, what they believe, how they are, because you need to know how to deal with people. And it's okay if somebody doesn't like you. You don't have to be liked by everybody. It's a village. It's not just you and them. It's an entire group of people who come together and cohabitate. We got one planet. We're going to destroy it. Then where are we going to go? Something happens to this planet, there is nowhere else to go that I know of. So why do damage? Why not take part in building it, make it stronger, and hold people accountable? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, there's opposing views, and that's okay. I like to listen and hear what people go with it, because you don't know everything. And that person might say something that might get you to thinking on a different wavelength. You might be like, oh, you know what? I never thought of that. I don't agree, but you got me thinking about something. And now you found a way to improve something you wouldn't have known if you didn't take the time to listen to somebody. Especially the opposing view. If everybody agrees with you, we're all doing the same thing, we will not grow, because there isn't, or there won't be, an opposing view. It's just, we're going to do this. Okay, we're going to do that. But who's being innovative? Who's being creative? Who's looking to do something different and outside the norm? I would like to believe that we can grow as a people by having conflicting views and wanting to do things differently. And then it gives our children the ability to find their own way, to find new ways of doing things. And this is how we advance in technology. This is how we advance in people. So let's take the time to grow with one another. Let's take the time to get to know one another. Let's take the time to communicate. And if you can't respect the person you're talking to and listen and get the information and not be judgmental and just have these barriers up, then it might just be a good idea just to maybe not talk to them and just go, hey, listen, like right now is not a good time. You might have something going on. You just might not be in the mood, or you just might be incapable of listening to that person. But then we should still be able to articulate that. We can do it without being disrespectful. We can do it without having any actual altercations with people. Sometimes we just let people go about their business the way they need to go about their business. We don't have to intervene if it doesn't affect us, or if something is happening around us. We can calmly, respectfully ask if something can stop, and without even getting into any altercations with anyone. As a child, I was told, if you don't like something, you contact your parents. And you get to a point where your parents might not be able to do something, you need a higher authority. That's where your village have people who were designated to keep the peace. Some areas, you have the police. Other areas, you have the militia, military, different forms and body of authority that will come in and intervene. Some neighbors have a neighborhood watch. They'll just activate and come outside and hey, they'll break up the situation and they'll mediate the situation just so no one outside that community has to be involved and things get out of hand. So we can definitely push for that. We can have that amongst our own people if we desire it. And sometimes it just starts as, hey, if you got a block party, just talk, knock on your neighbors' doors. Ask how would they feel about it. Introduce yourself to your neighbors. You don't have to be in their business, but you can, introduce yourself, wave, say hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I live in New York. It's not common, but I've gone to the South in Atlanta. I've been in Florida, and a random person will just say hi, how you doing? Even if you locked eyes for just a second, they'll nod, say hi, wave. And it's just to say, we're all people. How are you doing? I acknowledge you. I see you. You are an entity. You are somebody. And a lot of times people feel like they go unnoticed. And it's probably because we're not hospitable, we're not cordial with one another. And without being in anyone's business or trying to dictate what people should not do, a hi, a good morning isn't the end all be all. It's just to say hi. It's just to say good morning. It's just to say I see you and you're not invisible. You're very visible. Your presence is known and is felt. And when it's part of a village, it's required, it's necessary. You bring something to the table that nobody else brings, and that's you. You can have a talent, you can have an ability, even just a helping hand. They say the more the merrier, and just you being there can help out more than most people realize. You know, sometimes people will do things and feel like they have to do it by themselves because they're used to it. And they're only used to it because they didn't have the support. And then when the support comes, they don't quite know how to allow the support to support them. And again, that's just passed down knowledge and you feeling like that's just how it has to be because that's how it's always been. So sometimes you got to shake those things loose and allow people to realize, hey, listen, it don't have to be like that. Let's do it different. Let's support one another. It don't take much. I mean, I've had 2 donations and I appreciate the people who comment. I appreciate the people who shared this platform to their friends, their family, to their followers as well, because without one another, we'll never make it. And in order to get the message out from me to you, from you to somebody else, we just got to share it. Save it in your files. Get it out to people who might need to hear it. Might be a conversation. You might want to replay it for them. So go ahead and save it. Leave a comment. I'll comment back. I definitely appreciate you for listening. I appreciate you for sharing. And I appreciate the feedback, good or bad. Again, I've also learned that it's just the way people feel. So I'm learning in myself that everybody might not agree with it. Not everybody likes it. But just knowing it just helps me realize, you know, how many people are like-minded, how many people are different. This message might be for you today, might not be for you today, might be the next message I give that might be for you. So stay tuned in. Here's the proverbial collection plate. For those who want to support, donate, you can donate to my Cash App, $KingRel333. That's $KINGREL 333. Or you can donate to or through my PayPal. That'll be paypal.me/Rel Jackson. Again, that'll be PAYPAL period ME/REL JACKSON. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning, and I appreciate you. That's the back of the classroom. Thank you for tuning in.